brought to you by Amazon. Thanks to Amazon, healthcare just got less painful. Welcome back. Today on the show, methamphetamine. Next up, meth mouth. There's this idea that meth is so bad for your teeth that it'll make them fall out and your gums will turn black. And for one of our listeners, we'll call them Fallon, they said that after smoking meth for just a couple of years, a few of their back teeth were pretty messed up.
They were so bad. It was horrendous. I was like, this can't be real. It was like the back ones, there was no white on it and it was gum.
Wow.
Just from decay.
Wow.
Yeah, they were horrible.
And a study of more than 500 heavy meth users found that just under a third of them had 6 or more missing teeth, which is quite a bit higher than the general population. Meth users also have higher rates of holes in their teeth and gum disease. And this all makes sense based on everything we've heard about meth, right?
Meth is bad. It's gonna rot your teeth out of your head. Don't do it.
And this is?
Hi, my name is Kate O'Malley. I'm a researcher at Columbia University Department of Psychology and at the New York State Psychiatric Institute.
And then just tell us how many times you've tried meth. So I asked Kate, does meth eat away at your gums and teeth?
No. You know, it's very unlikely that methamphetamine itself is eating away at your teeth.
There's this idea that the smoke from smoking meth is acidic and eats away at your teeth, which is why you lose them. But a study of 300 folks who were dependent on meth found that IV users were actually way more likely to be missing teeth than those who smoked meth, which the researchers said belies the common notions about the corrosive effects of meth. So what is going on here? Well, Kate told me that meth can make you grind your teeth, and also some people get a really dry mouth from using meth, which could be bad because saliva helps protect your teeth from tooth decay. But Kate, as well as some other researchers, have suggested that there could be a much simpler explanation for what's happening here, which is that when you get high a lot, you just might not take good care of your teeth. And researchers found that chronic meth users tend to drink a lot of sugary drinks and sometimes aren't so great at dental care. Here's Kate.
Perhaps they're not brushing their teeth and flossing twice a day.
Are you surprised by this?
I mean, the Occam's razor, sometimes the simplest answer is so likely.
Looking at the research, it just doesn't seem like meth is uniquely bad for your teeth. Like a study of almost 60 drug users found that the teeth of heroin users was just as bad as the teeth of meth users. And researchers found that when meth users do brush their teeth, they're less likely to have crappy teeth. Quite a few of the folks that I spoke to who had used meth were actually so paranoid about getting so-called meth mouth that they made sure that they took care of their teeth. Like Tina.
First of all, I still have all my teeth, okay? I still have all my teeth.
Excellent teeth.
Thank you.
So what? Can I just say, you could be on a Colgate commercial.
Thank you. It would be Crest White strips because those are the ones that I use.
What? And so were you brushing your teeth? Is that why you think you were fine?
I was still brushing my teeth. It may not have been at the exact cadence that a normal person would be brushing their teeth, but I was still brushing my teeth.
So that's meth mouth. A little more alliteration than science. But as I was researching about meth and its effects on the body, I realized that there are some other less well-known things that I really wanted people to know about. And one of them is the toll that meth can take on your heart. Meth can increase inflammation in your blood vessels, increasing your risk of getting a serious heart disease. Here's Martin again.
With methamphetamine, you can see 20-year-olds having strokes. You can have 20-year-olds having heart attacks.
And in fact, in the US, more and more people are dying from meth overdoses. It's actually the second most common kind of drug to die from. after opioids. People who die with meth in their system aren't just dying from heart attacks, but also things like suicide and car accidents. Okay, our next question. Is meth the most addictive drug in the world? You know, remember those show? True. Is that how addictive meth really is? Meth has those powerful effects on our brain. It does make sense that it would be super, super addictive. And so I talked to our Breaking Bad fan and neuroscientist, Martin Paulus, about this. Can you just try meth once and walk away?
The answer to that is certainly yes. Only a minority of people who are exposed to the drug will actually become dependent or develop use disorder. So it's like inevitable. It's not like it wipes out your entire brain and you're kind of a slave to the drug the moment you take it. It's just not like that.
This huge survey on the drug use of millions of folks in the US found that in 2023, over 16 million people said that they had used meth at least once in their lifetime. And around 11% of those were classified as having a meth use disorder. So based on that metric, roughly 1 in 10 people who tried meth are currently classified as having a meth addiction or meth use disorder. And when you compare meth to other drugs, it actually doesn't stand out. So based on that huge survey, slightly more people who'd ever used pot ended up with a pot use disorder. More people who had tried alcohol ended up with an alcohol use disorder. Another study from the 90s found basically the same thing. I mean, in that study, they included tobacco, and you were 3 times more likely to become dependent on tobacco versus stimulants like meth. And I don't know if you're surprised about this. I definitely was when I first read about it. But the researchers I spoke to were not. Because they told me, well, yeah, you know, the reason that you get addicted to a substance, it's driven the chemicals in the drug, but also a whole bunch of other things, like what your friends are doing, what you have easy access to, what society says is kind of acceptable.
The use disorder is more than just, the kick of dopamine. Yes, that explains some element of it, no question, but it's not the only thing.
So I think based on the research, meth does not deserve its reputation as this drug that's going to get everyone hooked. But there is something about meth's reputation that's right.
Here's the kicker. The rapidity with which you develop methamphetamine use disorder is unbelievable.
Martin means that the speed that you can go from feeling in control of your drug use to being addicted to meth can be pretty fast. There was this one survey of almost 300 meth-dependent users, and it found that on average, the time it took them to go from trying it once to then having a meth use disorder was around 3 months, which is quite a bit faster, according to other research, than for alcohol, cocaine, or cannabis. So while the majority of people who try meth will actually never get addicted to it,
for those who do, it can be very terrible. You're down the cliff. I mean, that's the point.
And this is where that stereotype, or even the people that you see using meth in the news, this is where it really comes from. It's the minority of users who fall far. And for most of the people that I spoke to about their meth use, the ones that you're hearing from, their meth use, it actually did get pretty bad. So that listener from the start of the show who at first felt really twinkly, like she was from Twilight when she started using meth, she ended up getting arrested twice. Others lost jobs, got kicked out of their home, found themselves in really dangerous situations. Theo, who started using meth in his late teens, remembers when his addiction had well and truly set in.
I couldn't stop using. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I mean, I was like stealing it from people that I was hooking up with, using everything that I had really fast. And it got to a point where right around 21, I was like in my carpet, like looking through the carpet for like little shards of meth to put in a pipe and try to smoke. I remember like vacuuming and like emptying the vacuum on my desk and like trying to like dig out little shards. And we had a cat in this house that we lived at, and I mean, the kitty litter looks a lot there's like these crystals in kitty litter that looks a lot like it. And I remember kind of just tasting gross stuff. I put stuff in the pipe and just try to get something out of it. I mean, I was so desperate. Yeah, the addiction was like full on. There was no stopping it.
Theo knew the day he had to quit. He was in his room. He could hear his sister on the phone with his mum, who lives in Mexico. He's got a really good relationship with them both, loves them a lot. And Theo could hear them talking about him and how bad he was doing.
I remember getting really angry and opening the door to like confront them, and like nobody was there. I felt it rock my core, and I'm like, oh my God, I may have imagined that, but I think that's like my subconscious trying to fight for me. Like there's this part of me that wants to live. There's this part of me that wants to not do this anymore. Like there's a part of me that's just like so tired of like the really dark life, the situations, the hearing the voices, the like the financial insecurity, the like feeling so alone. Like it just got to a point where I was tired, and if I didn't do anything, like I felt like I was gonna die. If I didn't do it myself, like something was gonna kill me. So I just felt like it was like, I don't know, I'm not a religious person, but it felt like very spiritual to me. It was like something wanted me to live. Yeah.
So what did you do next?
I actually texted my sister and I said, hey, I want to be honest. I have a problem. I've been using meth for so long and I needed help. And I remember just immediately her calling me and like just bawling and being like, we will help you. You are fine. We love you and we just want you to be better. And I don't know why, I just was so scared because I thought they were gonna reject me and just be like, that's disgusting, you're on your own. I don't know, I just thought like there was a chance that they just wouldn't respond the way that they had.
And once you are addicted like this, it can be hard to quit. The stats are a little all over the place depending on stuff like how long the studies follow people for. But as an example, there was this one US study of more than 300 meth users who went to an LA treatment center, and they found that around 40% stayed off meth for the first year. 5 years later, only 13% were abstinent. Another survey, slightly better results, 25% were abstinent. So 1 in 4, 5 years later. Theo ended up going to AA and Narcotics Anonymous meetings. He's relapsed a few times, which according to one study happens to about half of those who try NA. But he told me that it's never gotten as bad as it was that first time. And he's doing much better now. Theo has gone back to college. He's almost finished a math degree.
And now here I am, and now I'm like super happy and proud.
I'm really excited to see what you do next.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
For Tina, when her boyfriend at the time got a job overseas, she saw it as this opportunity to stop using. And actually, when Tina told her mum, I'm leaving, they had this big fight.
And she was like, you're moving to Europe so you can do drugs. And I screamed back at her. I was like, you don't understand. The drugs are here. I need to leave here. And we left. We moved. I was ready to walk away, but I couldn't stop myself when it was in front of me. So if it wasn't in front of me, I was thrilled. I was so good to just keep going. So now I graduated back in May. I have a great job that I love.
She's been off meth for almost 10 years. And in fact, a few of our listeners that you heard from stopped using by basically walking away. Researchers like Dr. Krista Seifred at the University of are now looking into new ways to help folks with meth. And some are pretty surprising, like teach people coping strategies around cravings.
So, for example, how to surf an urge to use methamphetamine, how to urge surf, how to be able to sit with that discomfort and wait until it passes.
How do you surf the urge? What's one tip?
They actually visualize the wave, and the fact that the wave, you can actually watch the wave as it crests and it gets bigger and it feels like it's going to be overwhelming, but eventually it does actually crash and then recede.
There's also these pretty cool programs out there that will give people a bit of money when they can show that they haven't been using meth, and that has been found to help. And researchers are also looking into medications that we could use here. Like, you know how we use methadone to help people with opioid addiction or nicotine patches for nicotine addiction? Well, one of the things that Krista is currently researching is ADHD medication. Not meth, but a drug called Methamphetamine. And their early research is showing that it really could help some people use less meth. As we were wrapping up, I asked Krista, do you think that meth has earned its reputation as one of the scariest drugs out there?
No, I don't think that that's true. I think what's happened is that meth has earned itself a reputation whereby it's highly stigmatized. So I don't think it's the scariest drug out there. I think that it's a highly misunderstood drug.
Do you know, current working title for this episode is Meth, the Most Misunderstood Drug, ?
Ah, well done.
Love getting an A+ from a scientist. So, when it comes to science versus meth, is it the most misunderstood drug? Well, I had thought that meth was this uniquely hyper-addictive drug that was terrible for your brain and even rotted your teeth. And now that I know the evidence, it's definitely a naughty drug. It's in the naughty pile. But it's just a drug. You know, it can be fun, but also, particularly if you take a lot of it, it can have some pretty nasty consequences. You want to be careful here. I don't know if I'd try it. Probably not. But you might catch me humming a little ditty about it.
Oh, man, man, I don't sleep and I don't eat, but I got the cleanest house on the street. Oh, man, man.
That's Science Versus. This episode has 114 citations in it, so if you want to read more about anything that I've said on the show or you're curious, then you can find these citations by looking in the show notes, and then there's a link to a transcript, and you click on that transcript and then you'll see where we basically get our information from. If you want to let me know what you thought of the episode, I would love to hear from you. I'm on TikTok at Wendy Zuckerman is how you can find me. Science Versus is on Instagram, science_VS. So come and say hello. And for all of you folks who saw that call out on Instagram saying that I was looking for people to talk to about their meth use and you were up for a chat, I just want to say thank you so much. It was so lovely chatting with all of